I waited 7 long hours outside City Hall, the rain soaking through my jacket, hope draining out of me with every minute. Then, finally, my phone buzzed. A single text from Sophia. She wasn't coming this time. No excuse. No apology. Just like that. I didn't even bother replying. Instead, I called my mom. "Mom," I said, my voice flat, almost empty. "I'm not marrying Sophia." I could hear her breath catch on the other end. She tried to stay strong, but her voice broke. "Okay, honey, if she thinks we're not good enough for her, then we're done. I'll set something up with Mr. Clark's daughter. You'll meet her soon." "Yeah, okay," I mumbled, hanging up. I drove home through a torrential downpour, but the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm waiting for me inside. The second I pushed the door open, I saw them, Sophia and Caleb Vance, arms linked, laughing, drinking champagne in my house. The place was a wreck. A framed photo of us, once proud on the wall, had been tossed onto the coffee table and used as a coaster, smeared with grease, surrounded by trash. The laughter died the moment I stepped in. One of their friends scrambled to explain. "Liam, don't get the wrong idea. It was just a day." Sophia nodded quickly, her face bright with false innocence, not even a hint of shame. And Caleb? He just smirked. Sophia's family company had been climbing for years, and ever since, she'd looked at me differently, her words sharper, her tone dripping with arrogance. The slightest disagreement, and she'd explode, loud enough for the whole world to hear. But me? I didn't even bother saying a word. I just walked past them, water dripping from my clothes, and went upstairs to change. From the landing, I watched. Sophia, still blushing, clinked her glass with Caleb's, their arms linked, their smiles perfect. They looked like a couple in love. And honestly, I wasn't even surprised. I'd seen Caleb's little games before. The shared fries, the passing of napkins mouth to mouth, the inside jokes. This wasn't new. I had just submitted my resignation at work earlier that day, thinking I'd start fresh with Sophia by my side. Instead, I watched her lead Caleb into our bedroom. Our bedroom. "The rain is too heavy," she announced, like it was the most logical thing in the world. "Caleb will get soaked if he leaves." I told him he could stay the night. I let out a short, bitter laugh. 7 hours in the storm, sick with a head cold, and not a word of concern from her. But God forbid Caleb get wet. "And you," she snapped, tossing my comforter onto the floor of the guest room. "You can sleep in here. Where are your manners?" Caleb smirked, stroking her hair like he already owned her. "Don't mind him, Sophia. Liam from some struggling Midwest town. His family's all blue-collar. It's normal for him to be a little provincial." My fists clenched, my breath hitched. But then, something inside me let go. I remembered I was leaving anyway. I wasn't going to fight. Not anymore. That night, I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling when the door creaked open. Sophia slipped in, wearing a silk and lace gown. She slid into my bed, snuggling against me. "Were you jealous today?" she whispered, her tone soft, almost playful. "Don't be silly. We're about to get married. I'll give you the most incredible wedding, and then we'll be together forever." I stayed silent, biting back the words that were pressing against my throat. I was about to tell her I was done, when my phone rang. Caleb's name lit up the screen. "Sophia," his voice trembled with fake tears. "The thunder, it's so loud. Can you come back and stay with me? I'm so sorry. I know it's stupid for a grown man to be scared of storms. I hope Liam isn't mad." Without hesitation, Sophia shot out of bed, her voice gentle, reassuring. "It's okay. Don't worry. I'm coming." She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, then ran back to him. My train ticket home was for the day of the wedding. I figured, after all these years working myself to the bone in the city, the least I could do was bring something nice back for my parents. That's how I ended up at the mall. And that's where I saw them. Sophia and Caleb, hand in hand, laughing as they walked into a designer men's underwear store. They even went into the fitting room together. I turned away, pretending I hadn't seen a thing. A few stores down, a massage chair caught my eye. Price tag, $3,800. I was about to pay when a hand shot out in front of me. Caleb, his smug grin cutting into me like a blade. "I'll take it," he announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Ring it up." The salesman blinked, confused. He was first. Caleb didn't care. "I'll pay triple. Sell it to me." But I wasn't looking at the salesman. I was staring at the debit card in Caleb's hand. My debit card. The one Sophia had once decorated with a silly cartoon sticker. The same card she pressed into my palm years ago, saying, "Now it has my mark on it. Like I'm branding you." Back then, it had felt like love. Now, it was just betrayal. Sophia walked in at that exact moment. Caleb instantly switched to his wounded act. "Sophia, thank God you're here. Liam's bullying me again. Everything I want. He tries to take first. Can you talk to him for me?" Her eyes hardened. "Liam, do you think just because we're getting married, you can treat Caleb like this?" Caleb wrapped an arm around her waist, smirking at me over her shoulder. The old me would have lost it right there. I would have hit him. I would have screamed. But the man standing there now, I was just tired. So tired. Without looking up, I slipped the engagement ring off my finger. My hand hovered for a moment before I dropped it into a trash can beside me. The clink was soft, but final. My voice was calm, steady, cold. "If you're so worried I'll bully him after we're married," I said, "then don't worry. There won't be a wedding." I went home and started packing like a man rehearsing his own disappearance. Even after I decided, the pain lingered in the small domestic things, the matching hoodies hanging side by side, the 2 toothbrush holders lined up like a promise, the little rituals that suddenly meant nothing. My chest tightened when I thought about the early days, Sophia pouting in my arms until I gave into her cheeky pleas for matching shirts. That time I actually wore one that read, "Hands off, I'm hers." We used to laugh about it. Back then, those dumb, tender moments felt like anchors. Now they felt like lies. The wedding portrait that used to hang above our bed was gone. In its place, an oil painting, heavy and varnished, the bottom right corner signed in a neat, smug hand, Caleb Vance. I stared until the image blurred, gave myself a bitter little smile, grabbed my suitcase, and left. Sophia burst through the door with tears in her eyes and fury on her tongue. "This is your fault," she accused, "and I don't even have a right to be mad at you." She clutched at the last thread of righteousness like it was a lifeline. I didn't want fireworks, so I kept my voice low. "Give me my debit card back." The idea of Caleb holding my things made my skin crawl. She scoffed, rifled through her purse, and flung a wad of cash at my face. "Hey, you think I need your money?" She snapped. "This isn't even enough for one of my handbags." Then she stormed out, the door slamming behind her like a punctuation mark. That night, Caleb turned the whole thing into a performance. Dozens of Instagram clips of Sophia dancing in a club, a dress cut like a day and hickeys like badges across her skin. I felt nothing. I blocked them both and watched the time between then and the wedding shrink until in a little over 50 hours we would be strangers. Back at the office to finish my resignation, laughter met me at the door. Caleb was sitting in my chair, waving around photos like trophies. "Check this one out," he said, smirking at a picture of me in the suit I'd worn to meet Sophia's parents, the frayed cuff presented as if they were a joke. He held up another, the anniversary necklace I'd bought her, dismissed later as an $800 trinket, and shoved into the back of a jewelry box. The memories I'd cherished looked small and ridiculous under his snay. "Director," someone called out, a tasteless little jab. My assistant Alex went pale. Caleb spun in my chair and grinned. Well, if it isn't the former director." I was already walking out, but I stopped long enough to take the photos from his hand. Each one of us had been doodled on, our faces turned into cartoons by someone's idea of humor. I dropped the stack into the trash and said, flat and final, "You're right. It is trash." Then I left the company for the last time. On my last day in the city, Sophia's mother asked me to come over. I almost refused, but I went anyway. In the Wallace living room, Mrs. Wallace sat perfectly composed on a leather sofa. Sophia scrolled her phone with her head down. Caleb lounged in pajamas as if he owned the place. On the coffee table a document lay open, a prenuptial agreement. Mrs. Wallace looked at me with that cool, condescending patience. "Considering the disparity between our families," She said, all of Sophia's income, property, and investments will remain separate after the wedding. Of course, we won't touch your little $1,000 a week salary. Her magnanimity tasted like vinegar. I read the prenup and felt something in my chest go hollow. One clause even demanded a wasted-you fee, $10,000 for every year we'd been together, as if love could be priced and punished. Sophia didn't flinch. Her mother's humiliation meant nothing to her today. She wanted payback for whatever slight had stung her the day before. Get on your knees and apologize to Caleb right now, she said. If you do, I'll forgive you. The house held its breath. I put the agreement down and looked at Sophia. Is this what you want? I asked. Her confidence faltered. She avoided my eyes and twisted the hem of her shirt. Just sign it, she whispered. We love each other. We're not going to get a divorce. Caleb chimed in with a practiced shrug. Sophie's right. True love doesn't care about stuff like this. Unless, I said, the words cold as steel, your motives weren't pure from the start. Caleb finished for me with a triumphant grin. I've seen guys like you before, trying to marry up. You think a wedding ring is your ticket out of the gutter, don't you? I stood up, reached across the table, and ripped the prenup in half. The paper tore with a satisfying finality. You don't have to worry, Mrs. Wallace, I said, folding my hands. I have absolutely no interest in your family's money. Then I turned and walked away. Sophia chased after me, arms wrapping around me from behind, pleading like a bride rehearsing a scene from a rom-com. Okay, stop being mad, she begged. As soon as the wedding is over, we'll go and get the license. I've got 3 different dresses picked out for the reception. I'm going to be the most beautiful bride in the world. You should be thanking your lucky stars. You get to marry me. Her excitement sounded like someone else's dream. A bitter ache spread through me, not loud, not dramatic, but the slow, settling kind that tells you a life is split in two. I wanted to tell her I was leaving that night, that my train was just hours away, but she was already running back to Caleb. It's my bachelorette party tonight, she called over her shoulder. I promised Caleb I'd spend it with him. Don't you dare bother us. I watched her go, watched her leap into his arms like a girl chasing a fairy tale, like everything we'd built never existed. And in that moment, I knew there was nothing left for me here. I got in my car and drove to the station. Sophia, I thought, this is the first time I've ever stood you up, and it will be the last. I had no doubt you would be the most beautiful bride in the world. I just wouldn't be there to see it. 7 years of protecting that beauty, of holding it like glass. Now it was Caleb's turn. 7 years was long enough. We never needed to see each other again. On the morning of the wedding, as Caleb led a radiant Sophia in her $1 million gown toward the waiting limousine, I felt my phone buzz. A text from her. Sorry, hubby. Caleb wanted to know what it felt like to ride in the wedding car. For the first time, a knot of unease twisted in her stomach. She never got a reply. Back at the venue, the groom was nowhere to be found. The guests started to whisper. Sophia's confidence cracked, her anxiety rising until it was all she could feel. She paced in her gown, clutching the silk like it was strangling her, and finally dialed my number. But the voice that answered wasn't mine. The number you have dialed is not in service. Her face went white. She tried again, and again, the same cold, automated response. Desperation swallowed her whole. With a scream, she hurled her phone at the wall, glass scattering across the bridal suite. Meanwhile, my train was pulling away from the platform. My phone vibrated nonstop in my bag, Sophia's name flashing like a dull knife reopening an old wound. I turned it off and shoved it deep into my backpack. The rain streaked across the window, blurring everything. Back at the venue, chaos reigned. Sophia, once poised, polished, untouchable, now stood screaming at empty rows of seats. Her hair frizzed from her frantic hands, her makeup streaked with tears. Caleb hovered beside her, a fake mask of concern stretched across his face, but I knew he was savoring every second. It's okay, Sophia. He's gone. You still have me. We can just pretend this is our wedding. Her bouquet nearly hit his mouth before the words were even finished. What the hell did you just say? But none of it mattered anymore. The man sitting beside me on the train pulled out his phone and opened a news alert. My name was in the headline. The video showed Sophia's breakdown. The ceremony turned into a circus. She had shattered a champagne flute, red wine, and glass shards staining her perfect white gown. Her voice shrieked through the speakers. "Liam Peterson, you get out here right now. This isn't funny." Cameras flashed in the background, capturing every humiliating second. I looked away, a small, liberated smile tugging at my lips. In my backpack was a video I had once stayed up 3 nights editing, a montage of our 7 years together. A story I'd thought was beautiful. Now, it was nothing but ashes. Even powered off, I could still feel my phone buzzing in the bag. Sophia's persistence like a ghost refusing to die. My mind flickered to her birthday just last week, me standing in the rain for 5 hours, waiting to give her a necklace she'd once mentioned in passing, while she celebrated with Caleb at some Michelin-star restaurant. Attention, passengers. The next stop is... The announcement cut through my thoughts. I leaned back, watching the scenery blur past the window. For the first time in years, I felt light. 7 years of arrogance, of Caleb smirks, of being treated like less. I was free. The train plunged into a tunnel, darkness swallowing the car. Just like us, it had reached the end of the line. 3 days later, I was home when my mom handed me a stack of newspapers. The business section screamed, Wallace Corporation stock plummets 20%. The lifestyle section had a photo of Sophia, drunk at a bar, still wearing the white dress from our first date. Red wine stained the fabric as she kissed a stranger who looked eerily like me. I frowned, tossed the paper in the trash. "Mom," I said quietly, "you don't have to tell me anything about her anymore." "Hannah Clark is coming for dinner tomorrow," she replied, then hesitated. "I don't want to bring it up, but I heard Sophia swallowed her engagement ring last week. They had to pump her stomach at the hospital." I was about to answer when the doorbell rang. On the monitor, Sophia stood barefoot in the pouring rain. Her makeup was a mess, her designer dress plastered to her body, clinging like defeat. Her voice was raw, desperate, nothing like the imperious princess I once knew. "I know you're in there," she screamed, pounding on the door with the heel of her shoe. "You come out here and apologize to me right now. Maybe we can get back together. Otherwise, I'll never, ever forgive you." I didn't open the door. I just pressed the intercom button, my voice steady, even. "I don't care if you forgive me, because I will never forgive you." The word shattered her. She collapsed onto the wet ground, sobbing, her cries echoing through the neighborhood. My mom went outside, trying to coax her to leave, but Sophia refused. She just kept screaming, demanding to see me alone, and I didn't move. Not this time. She begged me to just come outside, swearing she couldn't believe I'd treat her this way. But I stayed silent. Instead, I called security, cracked the curtain, and watched as they dragged her away, her fingers scraping at the doorframe like she could anchor herself there forever. And for a moment, I remembered college, back when she fought for me with that same fire. Back then it was stubborn but kinda cute. Now, it was just sad. Later that night, a video lit up my phone. Sophia in a dim karaoke room, screaming the words to Adele's Someone Like You. When she hit the line about hoping I'd see her face, she hurled a beer bottle at the screen, at a slideshow of our graduation trip. The video ended with her curled up on the couch, still wearing the woven bracelet from our matching set. It was filthy, worn down, barely holding its shape. The same girl who once mocked a bouquet I gave her for having cheap wrapping paper was now clinging to the scraps of everything I'd ever given her. I sighed, blocked her friend, and shut the phone off. Too little, too late. The next day, Hannah Clark came to dinner, and waiting at the end of the street was a posh 911 I knew too well. Sophia stood under a maple tree, in the very first dress I ever bought her. She looked hollow, so thin her collarbones cut through the fabric, the dress hanging on her like it belonged to someone else. She stumbled toward me, whiskey on her breath, clutching my sleeve. She said she'd fired Caleb, kicked him out of the company, showed me his desperate texts begging for his job back. But I felt nothing. Then she dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around my legs. Her designer dress soaked in the dirt as she sobbed, begging for a second chance. When security tried to pull her away, she clawed open her homie's bag and dug out a rusty tin box. Inside, every little piece of our past. Movie stubs, Disneyland tickets, pressed flowers I'd once made into a bookmark. even the receipt from the boba shop on our first date. "Do you remember?" she cried. "You promised you'd buy me boba for the rest of my life." But in my pocket was a black loyalty card to that same shop, one Hannah had just given me. I pulled it out, my voice steady. "Sorry, I'm only buying boba for Hannah now." The look on Sophia's face, pure heartbreak. But I didn't flinch. I pushed past her and walked inside. That night at dinner, Hannah became my shield, gracefully fielding every pushy family question. Later, as I walked her home, she hummed some off-key tune under the moonlight before suddenly blurting out, "You know, I met you 10 years ago." She told me she'd seen me in college. Sophia berated me in front of a crowd, and thought to herself, "That guy has the patience of a saint." She laughed, kicking at a pebble. "If it were me, I would have just stolen you away." The night air felt lighter, her eyes shining as she looked up at me. For the first time, I noticed the red pearl in her hair, the one my mother had given her. And I finally understood. Understood why she always seemed to appear at the right moments, why she could read all the words I never said. For 7 years, while I was trapped in Sophia's world, another girl had been quietly waiting on the sidelines. And maybe, just maybe, this time, I could start over. 3 months later, I started my new job at Hannah's company. In the lobby of Clark Corporation, I ran into Sophia's father. The man who once sneered at me now looked frayed, gray hair, yellowed collar, hands shaking as he dropped his papers all over the marble floor. "Liam," he muttered. "Sophia, she tried to kill herself. Slit her wrists." I stepped past the scattered documents without a word. But just before the elevator doors closed, I saw him pull out a photo, me and Sophia, smiling in our graduation gowns. That same afternoon, my assistant told me Mrs. Wallace had been waiting in the lobby for hours. I looked down from my office window. There she was, Sophia, standing by the fountain in a hospital gown, one wrist bandaged, the other clutching a thermos like it was all she had left. For a moment, pity stirred in me. I called her mother, told her to come collect her daughter. 7 years was long enough. I didn't want to watch her ruin herself any further. That weekend, Hannah and I went grocery shopping. She reached on tiptoe for a bag of coffee beans, and I stepped in behind her, my arm brushing over Hayes, boxing her in with a smile. She held up a pair of mugs, grinning. "Buy one, get one free." I knew what she meant, and this time I was ready. I smiled and playfully ruffled her hair. At the checkout, we both reached for our wallets at the same time, our fingers brushed, and just like that, we were both blushing. She slipped my card back into my hand with a teasing grin. Her treat this time. A simple gesture, but the warmth that sparked in my chest felt anything but simple. On the way home, the sky broke into a light drizzle. We tucked ourselves under one umbrella, shoulders pressed together, her laughter spilling out as she told me silly stories from the office. A strand of her hair brushed my cheek, and for a moment, I lost myself in it, like maybe this was what love was always supposed to feel like. Hannah and I planned our engagement party on a white sand beach in the Maldives. But just before the celebration, my phone buzzed. It was Alex, my old assistant. Caleb Vance had just been sentenced, 7 years for embezzlement and fraud. The Wallaces had thrown him to the wolves, and now he'd pay the price. The photo attached showed him in an orange jumpsuit, his perfect hair shaved to a buzz, a scar carved across his forehead. The irony stung. His mugshot was the same day he once mocked me for being a hick. "Oh, by the way," Hannah said casually, handing me a gold-embossed envelope. Inside, a psychiatric report on Sophia. Major depressive disorder. Suicidal thoughts. Tucked behind it, an old photo boo strip. Our first date. On the back, in faded ink, she'd written, "Always believe in Liam Peterson." The letters were smudged, broken. Like her? And then I saw her, out of the corner of my eye, Sophia, standing at a distance in her hospital gown, watching me slide the diamond ring onto Hannah's finger. And when I did, she turned and stumbled away. That was it. The final page of a 7-year saga. Later, in the county jail, I almost didn't recognize Caleb. Limping, face bruised, eyes hollow. "Liam, please, for old time's sake." His voice cracked through the glass. I laughed, cold. "Old times? You mean when you called me a gold digger? Or when you set me up to fail with a client? He fumbled, desperate. It was Sophia. She made me. Please, help me. He lunged forward, forehead pressed against the glass, panic pouring out of him. The Wallaces are insane. I see it now. I stood, adjusting my jacket. I didn't come to save you. I just came to see how far you've fallen. And with that, I left him behind, broken, begging, curling into himself like a child as the guards dragged him away. Outside, Hannah was waiting in the car. I showed her the recorder in my hand. All taken care of. She smiled. His confession sealed it. 15 years behind bars. We drove away as the radio announced the collapse of the Wallace Empire. I turned it off. I didn't need the noise anymore. I just reached for Hannah's hand, the walls of the prison shrinking in the rearview mirror until they disappeared altogether. A year later, the night before our wedding, I found a dusty box in my old closet. Hannah's journal from school. Page after page. Small notes about me. Liam won the debate today. He has the best smile. I wish I could be the one to comfort him. Tiny pieces of her heart she never showed me. The last page stopped me cold. Our graduation photo. My face outlined in highlighter, with words scribbled in the margin. I love you more than she does. That night, my phone buzzed. A message from Hannah. Tomorrow, I get to be your wife. I have a secret to tell you. I smiled, typing back. Funny, I have a secret too. Outside, the moon hung like glass over the world. And for the first time, when I thought of Sophia, I didn't feel anger or bitterness. Just peace. Because life is like that. Some goodbyes aren't endings. They are doorways. Some losses clear the space for something greater. And tomorrow, I would take the hand of the girl who had been loving me in silence since we were kids. And together, we'd finally step into forever.